Good morning. Am I recording? Yes, I am. Okay, hard to tell sometimes. It's been quite a struggle, I'll tell you, this morning, trying to actually get a video uploaded properly and correctly. So, I'm going to go through a few tips and a few rants along the way this morning. It's actually afternoon. But thank you for joining Hobby Hi-Fi, and thank you for all my new subscribers. I noticed I've got 9 now, which is very surprising considering I haven't been doing much in the last few months due to taking a new job and having a little bit less time than I have had in the past. And so I haven't been actively creating content like I should be, and so I appreciate your patience on that. And so, without further ado, I'm going to try to get into a couple of situations where I can share some knowledge, which is what I like to do, to help save you some time and to help us think outside the box a little bit and share some information on particular products that may be of interest to the masses. So what I like to do is preface these videos by sharing what I am using for equipment and some techniques that I'm using to help save you some aggravation that I've faced this morning, since I'm pretty much on hour number 2 trying to get this video posted correctly, which there is no excuse for, but apparently I'm out of practice. But apparently I've also been doing quite a few things wrong. So I'm going to share some of those with you right now, and the first of which is if you're doing anything like this and want to make videos like I do with my cell phone, this is a Galaxy S9, which is probably at least 4 years old at this point, but I have to say is one of the best cell phones that I've ever used, and it will take extremely good videos, and I find the audio quality to be as good or better than just about any USB microphone that you might use with a PC. So I've been impressed with both the audio quality and the video quality. I think this one will record up to a 2K signal, so it's ultra high def and all of those things, which are probably not needed in this situation today, since we're just going to show you a static image of the front display on a Onkyo receiver model TXNR 509. And so I'm going to try to share a lot of information with you in a short period of time and condense this, since I've pretty much lost 2 hours to my stupidity this morning and this afternoon. And one of the pitfalls that I faced was the first video that I took. It recorded properly video-wise, except for that when you're using a cell phone to take videos and you're using this 16:9 format, which is, I believe another word for it would be the landscape display, or horizontal, which is what is much preferred when you're watching these videos, which I've been uploading to YouTube, to be able to view these things on your television and have no bars, black bars to your left and right, and to hopefully fill the entire screen. Although, like I said, maybe not quite as important in this situation, since we're not showing much more than the front face of a receiver. But I've tried to minimize any problems with this particular video, since I'm tired of doing this 3 times. But the first problem that I goofed on was the fact that the microphones on these cell phones are typically placed a very small pinhole in the very bottom edge of your phone. So when you're holding these by hand, I almost undoubtedly inadvertently cover that little pinhole with one of my fingers on one of my hands at some point in the video process. And so what I found when I played back the video, and I did not even realize this until I had not only made the video, but then I had uploaded the video, and each one of which took about 15 or 20 minutes. So the first half an hour was completely wasted, maybe 40 minutes wasted by the fact that I didn't spot check that before I had uploaded it, which honestly, you're not going to save a whole lot of time, because the proper way to do that would be to take the video and then watch it back completely to find out, in fact, that it is recording properly, that the sound is where you want it, and so is the video. So in this case, the sound was off because I had my big fat thumb over the microphone at the very bottom edge for a good couple minutes, which pretty much nullified most of that information that I wanted to share with you. So I had to do it again. The second take, what happened? I got completely through the video and I went to play it back, and my phone told me that my SD card, my micro SD card, which fits in a little shelf, also accessible by a pinhole. So I had to shuffle through, the junk drawer to find a pin that I could properly eject my SD card with and replace it with one that's not corrupted, because it gave me an error message that my SD card had been corrupted. And so these are the prices that you pay when you're not doing things properly. And so this brings me to tip number 2. Don't buy SD cards, micro SD cards, flash cards, any of those types of cards, removable cards, storage cards, CF cards, any kind of cards, except for maybe greetings cards. Don't buy them on eBay. So years ago, I was in a spending crunch, an economic situation where I thought, boy, I don't really have the 50, 60 bucks for a nice SD card. I'm going to go on eBay and see if I can't save a little money. So what happened, this was a SanDisk card that was apparently ripped off, and so marketed as a SanDisk, but sold as a knockoff. And so I got taken and had realized this, years ago. But in my travels, I had recently noticed that I had been corrupting my micro SD cards. How was this happening? I have no idea. One of them even was a PNY card, which is a reputable brand that I had purchased at a retailer nearby, like a Walmart or a Best Buy. And so you would think that that would be a perfectly fine place to buy those cards and have them to be legitimate OEM cards. Well, I don't know for a fact that the PNY card was a knockoff, but I can tell you that it also ended up getting corrupted. So, there's a lot of things to learn in this technology industry, and I tried, I think, almost guaranteed that I did not try to remove that card while the phone was on. Now, that's something that people will tell you is a no-no. You always want to, if you're using your SD cards in on a PC, make sure to eject your cards properly before you remove them, because you do risk the chance of corruption when you're just hot swapping these cards. Now, some people will say that they've never had a problem with that, but I can tell you that I've ruined a couple of cards lately. And so I went to, I think it was Walmart, and I bought myself, maybe it was Staples, and I bought myself a brand new, I believe 4K capable micro SD card from SanDisk. I believe it was Image Pro or something along those lines, which is what I'm using right now. So I'm hoping, even though I did not attempt to format this particular card before I put it in, it seemed to find it and able to choose that as my my main storage for recording videos, because a lot of times your internal cell phone memory will not be as large as what you could buy for a chip, or your apps, and over time will be taking most of that space up, and you certainly won't have 64 gigabytes or 128 gigabyte cards empty and ready for new videos. So that here we are 10 minutes in, and I'm still ranting and fuming about wasting my morning. But so since then, I've decided to go ahead, and I did purchase a new card. I just installed it 10 minutes ago, and I think I'm ready to go now. The other thing that I've done to curtail some of my buffoonery is to attach this phone to a clip clamp type situation, a cheap $5 Chinese jobby with an extendable, bendable arm that will pretty easily grip onto this phone in the sideways position, with a bit of a cheap plastic swivel ball that will allow me to orient this phone in the horizontal position, so that I can show you what I want to effectively, but still will probably not be able to move this phone for fear that I may still cover the microphone, not knowing in my travels. And so, the ability to be able to display an item like a receiver from all angles, up, down, low, back, you really need to do it using your hand. You can't, even with a tripod, which is tip number 3, if I haven't mentioned it yet, buy a tripod. And, in a perfect world, the tripod would be, movable and smoothly movable, because if you need to get around the back side of something, how are you going to do it? You really can't move your tripod. And so it's not as easy as it looks. And so I'm just going to talk about some of these things and show my unprofessionalism by my simplicity here, and just attaching it to a cheap clip clamp, and just show a static image of the front of this receiver. So without further ado, I'm going to just hope that this video works out for the 3rd time, since I've had to put off everything else that I wanted to do today, because I wanted to stay on this task until I get it right, suffer the consequences of my my iniquities. And so here I am. But the reason that I wanted to talk again, I believe I have previously done a video of a Onkyo TX NR series, either the 609 or the 509, such as this one. But the reason for it is that I have realized that all is not lost if you have experienced problems with your HDMI cards, your HDMI boards on this particular line of receivers, and other lines of receivers by Onkyo within that same time frame of, say, maybe 10 years between 2006 and 2016. I would say there was a fair amount of problems with Onkyo's supply and performance of their HDMI boards. And I am currently getting a message that my phone is now operating at 15%. And so hopefully this doesn't arrive at video number 4 that I have to take to get this done before my phone dies. So I'll try to speed things up just a tad. So being prepared is always the best way to go, and having all your ducks in a row, and being in practice. So I'm obviously out of practice, as I haven't been creating too much content and sharing too many videos with you within the last few months, as I had stated, due to a new job I've taken at LL Bean down in Freeport, Maine. So the reason for the video, now that I've got all that crap out of the way, is to show you that, as you can see, this particular block over here is your speaker icons. This is typically a huge indicator of the performance or the status of your receiver. And typically when the HDMI boards on these lines, similar lines of receivers would fail, that would also delete all of those speaker icons, your front left and right, your center, your rear left and right, and your subwoofer. That whole block, each square of the six represents each one of your speakers. And so those typically all show together, or they, depending on what mode you're in. If you're in stereo mode, you will only see your two main left and right channels as speaker icons. So when these HDMI boards would fail, that would just not show. So if you go and you plug in one of these without anything attached to it, and you don't see those speaker icons on the left of your display, chances are your HDMI board has got some issues. Now in this case, this is an anomaly, I like to call it, because although I wasn't able to get proper sound and video out of the HDMI inputs and outputs, everything else seemed to work fine, which is strange because in other instances, once that HDMI board went, or that particular Texas Instruments chip that you would see if you pop the top on this, on the top board, you'll see a Texas Instruments chip that was infamous for junkability. Either it wasn't soldered in properly, it wasn't, or it was they had a bad batch of defective chips that created these receivers to be almost unusable. And in this case, that is not the situation. So I thought I would bring this to your attention, that some of these, as long as you're getting your icon symbols to your left on your display, you may be able to use these for a host of other features that are built into this rather fine receiver that I've enjoyed using over the past decade or so. And I even enjoy the 609 a little better. It's got a little bit more beef to it. And of course, you have a 7 series, an 8 series, and a 9 series, and some of those were thousands of dollars, and they actually were quite beastie, with some high power outputs and a lot of features built in. So the real reason behind the video was to show you some of the network abilities of this, I guess, pretty old receiver by today's standards. At 10 years, you might not think that these things were able to connect to the networks and give you what they could. But this one has an actual Ethernet port built into the back, so you could plug your Ethernet cable directly into your router, and you can access all of the various network functions built into these Onkyos. And back in the day, and it may be similar today if they're still making them, I understand that they may have been bought out by somebody, and I think that possibly those HDMI board problems have led to their downfall. But I decided to bypass the HDMI situation and just see what I could do for the network, on the network ability angle. And built in is Pandora, Spotify, I think Napster, and DLNA, Dynamic Link Networking protocol, which allows you to share folders from anywhere on your network, which is very handy if you have information stored on your cell phone. Say that you wanted to stream over to your receiver, you can do that using DLNA, as long as you have a DLNA capable server built in, or an app that can do it. So in this case, what I'm using is called Bubble UPnP. And so you go over to the Play Store, you download UPnP, and then work with a few technical configurations to share your music folders, and all of a sudden you're able to pipe any music that you have stored on your cell phone or your micro SD cards in your phone, able to connect them over the Wi-Fi network and have your Onkyo here play your files for you, which is very nice and commonplace today. But 10 or 15 years ago, this was cutting edge technology, and Onkyo did it pretty well, as I was able to get both wired and wireless configurations working with this today. And so I just wanted to show you that. Ethernet, I won't go into because it's pretty basic. You take your wire and you just plug it in the back, and then you can access your files that way. But the other way to go about this is using this front-face USB input with a Wi-Fi dongle. And I'll try not to break this mount that I have here on holding my phone, but I'm trying to bend it so I can show you that there's a lot of your USB dongles, how they were set up back in the day, where it had an external antenna here, and Onkyo also, of course, had an original equipment manufacturer USB dongle that was able to be purchased separately when these came out. However, I think they were maybe $60 or so, and I had found in a forum that other USB dongles were able to work fine with this product. And so I thought, wow, that's interesting. I can pick one of these TP-Links up for about 20. And so that's what I did. I'm going to give you this model number so that if anybody wants to try to find one of these on the cheap, you can do that. TL-WN722N. And I was able to set that up this morning. Oh no, restart. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, there, we're back, I hope. Okay, so I was able to get that running, and I have to tell you that it was sort of eye-opening to find out that years later I was able to get all the networking features. Despite the possible HDMI problems with this, I was able to set this receiver up to be accessed using my cell phone, and able to play Napster and any of the music streaming services that I have been using. Pandora is the one that I started with this morning, and it worked perfectly. And so this is something that a lot of people is going to be a deal breaker when they find out that their HDMI is not working properly. They're going to probably get rid of this receiver, throw it in the landfill, and I just wanted to try to give us some options to think outside the box and to be able to repurpose some of these things, that even if possibly not all features are working, that some of the features are still very valuable and usable in the real world, that we could save these units and use them for fun in a different capacity. And in which case, if you have one of these that may not be playing perfectly well with your TV monitors and your video streaming services and products like Roku's and Apple TVs and whatnot, that you certainly can hook this up on a table next to your router, tuck it away somewhere, direct wire it, and then download the Onkyo app, remote app, on the Play Store as well, and you can control this receiver completely using your cell phone. I use Android, as I was saying. This is a Samsung S9, and that app works perfectly to be able to cycle through all the various features using your cell phone app to control this. I did find the original remote control for this, which has all the features that you would want. But in case you lose that, or in case you would rather use your cell phone, it's certainly able to be set up completely using that cell phone app. And so, there we have it. We're at 24 minutes, way longer than I want it to be, but hopefully we've worked through a host of situations here and enlightened some of us as to what actually should be done to make these videos, make them clear, make them sound good, make them look good on a TV, and share some information that's useful for a lot of different people, and save some of these units from being sent to the landfill, and try to use them as just a music player or a networkable device. Thank you for watching. Thank you for my new subscribers, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Thank you for watching Hobby Hi-Fi.